foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. Thank you for taking time to join us. We're broadcasting live today from downtown Conroe, Texas, one of the fastest growing cities in America. So we're in the middle of the business, so to speak. We're here today, as usual, in the studio of Lone Star Community Radio. It's the local community nonprofit radio station in Montgomery County, which provides all kinds of interesting programming. If you live in the Conroe area, Montgomery County area, and you've got an idea about a show, you can come to Lone Star Community Radio. Just go to their website at irlonestar.com. That's irlonestar.com. Well, I'm glad to be your host today. Again, my name is Rick Scheffler. I'm a Silver Fox advisor, as well as being the founder of OneBestConsult.com. Quick thought as we kick off today's program. This is the time of the year as we kind of close out another calendar year. We're in the holiday period. People are excited. They've got a lot of things to do, kind of a hustle bustle, sometimes too much for some of us. But it is a time for reflection, and I encourage you, as a business owner, take some time for reflection. I know it's hard. You're busy, especially if you're in a seasonal business, and this is your season, you're busy. But take some time to reflect. And there are three areas I think we need to reflect on at this time of year, and maybe even make some notes of what we think about. One is obviously the accomplishments that our business has achieved, our employees, even our customers. Think about your own accomplishments. It's good to take stock. I'm not talking about necessarily patting yourself on the back, but I am. Take time to realize that this past year maybe had some ups and downs. They always do. But congratulate yourself on another year in business. Second thing I would consider in my reflections is setting goals for next year. If you haven't already done so, it's not too late. Think about what goals you have for your business, for yourself, for your family. And in the case of the business, definitely put those goals down on a piece of paper. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but have some goals in mind so that you have a way to check yourself as the year progresses. As 2024 rolls out, are you keeping the ship headed the right direction? And last but not least is reflect on your personal life. You know, being an owner of a small business it's a dynamic that has many differences in being just an employee or working in a big corporate environment. But most importantly, I think a component that unfortunately gets overlooked, and I have to raise my hand when that's brought up. I operated small businesses, and sometimes the family got pushed aside. Not intentionally in most cases, it just happens because businesses demand your time when you're the owner of the business. So reflect on your personal life, on your family, things you've done, things you need to do. Perhaps you need to devote more time to them. But the whole point is reflect, particularly on what happened last year and what you hope will happen in the coming year. Well, the Weekly Business Hours, people from all over Montgomery County and businesses throughout the world come to talk about the latest business news, business ideas to improve your own business, and to be part of conversations that we hope can make a real difference in your business. I want to remind you, if you're new to the show, that the show is broadcast in video as well. Just go to YouTube, Facebook, click on the Weekly Business Hour page, and you can click and you can watch us as well as listen to us. Also, if you have any ideas, if you have a comment, constructive criticism, or you have a business challenge, email them to me. I love to get that email. It's real simple. Just send me an email here to the studio. It's to Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. One of the features of the show often is the mailbag. In fact, we have that segment today where a listener has sent in an issue that they're having and they want some advice. And I respond to every email I get and openly try to help people meet that challenge or point them in a direction where I know they can get the help they need. So again, the Weekly Business Hour is on the air, and we have a wonderful guest in the studio today for you, Mr. Steve Scheffler, Director of Marketing and Communications for the Conroe, Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to take a look back over the past 90 years. Yeah, that's right. Our local Chamber of Commerce here in Conroe is 90 years old, and that's pretty amazing. Steve, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it, the opportunity to tell the Chamber story and talk a little bit about our history and also a little bit about what's coming up with the Chamber.
You know, one of the things, Steve, that I always find interesting about a chamber, particularly like the Conroe Chamber, is it started when the area was just starting to grow. Right. I mean, if you read the history of Conroe and go to the Heritage Museum and look at some of it, what a fantastic history of a town. And the Chamber was right there, step by step, in its true growth period.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. The Chamber actually existed in the 1920s. We've done some research, and even though we celebrate 1934 as the start of the Chamber, there was a Chamber that existed in the 20s. We've documented that, but it did not last. We're not exactly sure what happened. We can guess that with the Great Depression that hit, I've been told that almost every bank, if not every bank in Conroe, went out of business in some form or fashion. And if you don't have any banks, it's tough to have a Chamber of Commerce. As you know, we get great support from our local banks. And so anyway, you can't tell the history, like you said, of the Chamber without learning the history of the city. And everyone who lives in Conroe for any length of time knows that, you know, George Strake struck oil in 1931, late 1931. And Conroe, that changed Conroe because it had been largely timber and forest land and agriculture. And so that really made a big impact on the city. And our chamber formed just a little over 3 years after that happened.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying as far as the Chamber has been there every step of the way when the real growth started, which was the finding of the oil. You know, one thing I wanted to take a second because I was reflecting, I was thinking about our visit today and preparing, and I said, you know, to understand your business in the environment of the business, yes, it's 2023, which is almost gone, but everyone, I would think, in small business could benefit by learning some of the history and understanding the history of business, particularly in their area. And of course, we've got the Heritage Museum, and of course, you and the Chamber are putting together programs and things that'll make certain things available, I'm sure. I've seen some of the slides you offer that give people a sense of where the business came from.
Right.
And of course, we have a dynamic event being the finding of oil in the backyard of Conroe. So very, very interesting. Before we go any further, though, please share with people a little bit of your business background and
Sure.
how you came to the Chamber.
Well, I've been with the Chamber a little over a year now. It's been great. I love living and working local here in Conroe. My background mainly has been in higher education, marketing, and public relations. So I worked for Lone Star College System for about 22 years, and also in higher ed at Texas Southern University and a little bit at University of Texas. So that's largely my background, as well as a little bit of nonprofit work here and there. So I love telling stories. I love writing. I got a journalism background. So the opportunity to come into the Chamber environment and also, you know, have this 90th anniversary sitting in my lap when I started was great. I've been doing a lot of research, and it's been a lot of fun to learn about the history of Conroe and the Chamber.
what a great topic to hand off to someone in your field of communications and marketing. A lot of messages there that can be passed out and hopefully attract the kind of attention of the chamber that you're looking for.
Definitely.
Well, let's kind of jump into this a little bit. I mean, the chamber you mentioned, 1934, the turning point in Conroe, I suspect everyone could agree, was the finding of the oil.
Right.
Because that happened in a lot of places. Oil changed the environment almost overnight in many places, and some survived, some didn't. But Conroe's thrived. So let's go back and look at some of the history that you can share with us. The first 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 90 years is a long time, but what was it like? What did the chamber, what was its focus? What was it doing back then?
Well, you have to start in 1934, and Mayor Harry Crichton, who the Crichton Theater is named after, he was elected mayor in that year, earlier that year in 34. And one of the things he wanted to establish was a Chamber of Commerce. And there's an ad, I think, if the viewers can see that, this was an ad that appeared in the May 18th, 1934 issue of the Conroe Courier. And it is a call for action prompted by the mayor. And a lot of businesses signed up for the meeting that was held. It was held at the Birch Hotel on May 21st. And actually, we have three chamber members that were part of that initial impetus that got the chamber started. And you asked kind of what was the chamber involved in? What was its purpose? Its mission has always been to assist and to grow business in the Conroe and the greater Conroe region. Back then, we were called the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, and that's legally that's still our name, although we don't go by that right now. But there was Conroe, there was Willis, there was Montgomery, there was no Woodlands. The county looked a lot different. There was still a lot of forestry and timber industry. There was the oil, of course. There was banking, and Conroe was really the center of the activity for the chamber. Looking at some of those early articles, Highway 105 was under construction during that time, so the chamber was actively involved in making sure that the legislators and the state agencies knew what priorities there were and that there was a voice for business in Conroe.
Well, and for those that don't know, there was not a Lake Conroe at that point. So that became sort of a major shift in business opportunities later on.
Yes.
So, it's very much sounds like a ranching agriculture area, timber, and that's what it was. It was rural America, basically.
Right.
And I really love that ad, though, from the concept that the mayor, the whole city's reaching out and says, we need a Chamber of Commerce.
Yep.
And plus, I love the fact you've got three members, 90-year members
if we want
of the Chamber.
If we want to go to the next slide or the next graphic, there's a few photos here I just wanted to share. This is actually the Birch Hotel where that first chamber meeting was held.
Now, it's gone now.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's no longer there. As unfortunately, a lot of historic buildings. Although Conroe does a great job of keeping that downtown.
Oh, wow.
Very historic, and there's a lot of buildings that were survived or were built right after that fire in 1911. But the Birch is no longer there. And that's where a lot of activity in the city took place. The Rotary clubs, the Lions clubs, they all met there, and the chamber met there too. The next picture shows a log cabin that existed in the 20s. I think it was torn down when the new courthouse. It was built literally on the same block as the old courthouse, and then later in the 30s it was torn down. I wish they had kept this, but that's where the chamber actually its offices were, in this log cabin, along with the city hall. So the chamber and the city were really co-joined in a lot of ways in the 30s and 40s, and then the chamber kind of had its own building and its own identity. But that was the first home, and
That's true humble beginnings, let me tell you.
Yeah.
We started in a log cabin.
Yep. Then you mentioned some of the founding members, and we have 3 members from 1934 who are still with us as active members. And if we can go, I think we're a little bit further back, maybe. Oh no, it's further back. It's like the 4th slide. Yeah, next one. Yeah. So the Lufkin Conroe telephone company, also known as LCC, it has now become Consolidated Communications.
Oh, okay.
So that was one of our first members, and the Conroe Courier, of course, they're still a member, although they've been conjoined with the Houston Chronicle now. It's all part of one entity. And then Gulf States Utilities, which is now Entergy. So those 3 members have stayed with us throughout the thick and thin of the chamber. So that's pretty cool, and we're going to celebrate them this year. We have our annual guide that comes out, and we have a little article about those founding members.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't recognize, with the exception of the Courier, their logos. Even probably folks that even work there don't know those names.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
But that's history. It moves on, doesn't it?
It does.
What is the chamber was there? It supported the growth, and it got its own identity. You said in the 40s, moved into its own facility, but still, I'm sure strong backing from the city still connected the importance. Talk to us a little bit about your perspective on the importance of a chamber to a business community like Conroe.
Well, a chamber provides so many benefits for not only the members, but the overall community. So obviously we are a conduit for networking and giving businesses the chance to interact with other businesses. And there are so many stories of new members who join the chamber, and they come to one of our meetings or any of our events, and they do business. They understand kind of what other businesses there are, how they can support each other. So the networking is critical for any chamber. We also are an established brand, and we have a lot of presence on our website, on our social media. We can give businesses who might not have that opportunity, or if they're a mom and pop shop or one person operation, they can utilize the chamber as a way to help market themselves. We do ribbon cuttings for businesses when they first join. We do professional development. We have actually twice a month, we have training, whether it's a lunch and learn, which is kind of short, or a longer, more detailed workshop on different topics that are of interest to the local businesses. So it's a resource for businesses. It's been that way since 1934. We have the ears of local legislators, and we bring them in, and they talk to our chamber members. So they have all sorts of opportunities to have their voice heard and raise their concerns and promote themselves. So
that's one of the key things. And I've talked about that on the show. Scott Harper, the president of the chamber, has been on our show several times. In fact, Scott will be our first guest of the new year, talking about what the chamber hopes to accomplish in 2024. But oftentimes I find small businesses are confused about what a chamber offers them. Why should they spend their money, their time, and perhaps even some of their talent supporting the chamber?
Right.
Can you kind of briefly sum that up?
Well, we have different levels of membership. So we try to provide an entry level for whatever size business exists that wants to take part in the benefits of the chamber. But I really think it goes back to business supporting business, and that's what the chamber is all about. We give those businesses resources. We like to show new members how much web traffic there is on the chamber. A lot of consumers go to the chamber website to look up through our directory what if they're looking for a plumber, if they're looking for roofing, if they're looking for lawn services, all sorts of businesses, banking, lawyers. We have businesses of all shapes and sizes that belong to the chamber. It's not just big business, it's small business. Every size, doesn't matter. They can benefit from the chamber.
One of the things too that I feel is so important, and what I've learned, because I've been a member in my history of different chambers from the Greater Houston Partnership as a small business owner, but the chamber here in Conroe is the best one, in my opinion, for small businesses I've ever been associated with, because it provides opportunities and so many services. And two things that I identify: it's important as a business owner to get out every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And so you have a chance through the morning mingle, the monthly breakfast, they have an after hours where you can just meet other business people and you can talk to people and develop relationships that perhaps, peers. And because a lot of times I'm running a business and it's, it seems like it's 24/7 and I don't have a chance to connect with other business people. Okay. And the second thing this chamber does, which is a little self-serving on my part, but I think is a great opportunity for business, is we provide business roundtables. And I happen to mentor our main business roundtable, or CEO roundtable, which the Silver Foxes support, because there you get a chance as a member. It's you can join. It doesn't cost you anything additional, and get a chance to, in confidential setting, talk about your business, talk about your challenges. Yep. And the dynamics of those groups, I can't overstate it. People will tell you that they give a lot of credit to that group, to their success. So this chamber is trying to build businesses up, and it helps small businesses do that. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been on the air quite a long time now, and I'm going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Steve about particularly the last 20 years, give or take, and some of the things the Chamber's done and accomplished. So please stay with us, and we'll be right back with you.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Health Center Southeast Texas is a federally qualified health center. We accept Medicare, Medicaid, and most major private insurances. For our self-pay patients, we have a sliding scale discount program available. Our health centers have qualified providers and staff striving every day to provide the best quality of care to our patients. Services offered are family medicine, behavioral health services, telepsychiatry, and pediatrics. We have 4 area locations. Look up the Health Center Southeast Texas online at hcset.com.
Every Friday, tune into Texas Ticket on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM with Armando Nino of Gold Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas Ticket.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Scheffler, and you're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. And we're having a conversation today with Steve Scheffler, Director of Marketing and Communications for our own Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. Now, Steve, when we went to break, we've been talking about some of the history of the Chamber, some of the things it does. But let's fast forward in that history. I mean, again, 90 years, a lot of ground to cover. Mm-hmm. But the last 20, 30 years, the Chamber has become more and more an integral part of the community, the business community in particular here in Conroe. Share with us some of the major things that have occurred and are still working today.
Yes. The Chamber, throughout its history, as it grew into the 40s and 50s, it incubated so many things that are now either independent of the chamber or still tied to the chamber, but they're seen as their own entity. And one of those is the Montgomery County Fair and Rodeo. And up until I believe it was 1978, that it was, all the operations were housed with the chamber. But it became so big and so involved that it made sense for that to become its own entity. So that's one example. Leadership Montgomery County, which a lot of the local area leaders have participated in. They have a class that goes through every year, and a lot of businesses support that in the community. It started out as Leadership Conroe, and Leadership Conroe was a chamber event, a chamber activity. And now when the Woodlands became a bigger entity and just the growth of the area, it became logical to have a county-wide leadership program. So that's another example. You talked earlier about Lake Conroe and how big of an entity that is. A lot of the earliest talks about the Lake Conroe and establishing that in the partnership with the city of Houston involved with that, those talks started at the chamber. I've seen documents and meetings and all sorts of things that the chamber helped facilitate. Parks, local Candy Cane Park, the chamber donated the land along with the city, I believe, to help get that park underway. We talked about streets and roads, Loop 336 and FM 3083, all those roads that became in the 70s and 80s. Those discussions were held at the chamber with businesses interested in those. And then also the Conroe Economic Development Council and the CVB, those were tied from the earliest days to the chamber and then became more part of the city. The city now manages the CVB and the Visit Conroe and the CEDC.
Going back to those first couple things, which are very visible to everybody, the fair. Mm-hmm. I mean, Montgomery County Fair, if you will, is very visible, and the folks that live in Montgomery County know or hear about the fair because it's a huge, huge event, and they do things during the year. But it's amazing that started in the chamber.
Yeah.
Right? So the chamber's trying to build a stronger, more structurally sound community by, and I'd love to have been a fly on the wall in that initial discussion, like we need to have a fair and we da-da-da-da. And like you say today, it is a huge, huge entity and has a tremendous impact.
It does.
On the Montgomery County community. So
it really does.
And of course, Lake Conroe speaks for itself. I haven't seen any recent figures how many millions of dollars economically come into the county because of that being constructed, mm-hmm. Supplying water primarily for the city of Houston, but still great recreational part of Conroe and the nearest really large or lake for Houston to come out and people from Houston supporting it. So another great idea by a group of business leaders, I assume, is where it started with. So there's been a lot of wonderful things, and it's interesting. You mentioned leadership, Montgomery County. I mean, that entity, just in the time I've been here, say 10 years, to me, it has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. It's very strong, important entity building leaders, and they have them in other counties, but I'm super impressed how this one, with the support of the chamber still today, I know the chamber sponsors situations and feeds into it.
Yeah.
So you just didn't cut these people loose in these different organizations.
No, that's the thing. Even though that's the fair is its own entity, we still partner in so many ways with the Montgomery County Fair, with Leadership Montgomery County. But we'd also do our own events, and I would be dismissed if I didn't talk a little bit about Lobster Fest and the history of that, because it got started in 1987, and so for 30-some years it's been a big part of the chamber, and it's a big fundraiser for the chamber. And Lobster Fest started as just a one-day event with golf and the dinner all together, and now it's grown to 2 days and separate events. We have Taste Fest, which happens each spring now, And that's a chance for businesses, specifically restaurants and caterers, to participate and display and show off what they provide to local consumers and also business to business. So those are a couple of big events. We have our Chairman's Ball every year. That's also very historical. Every January, the Chamber would install its new president, and there would be a ceremony or an event or a banquet to honor the previous year's chair. And we're getting ready to do that in January of this year with Nick Davis. And Jennifer Millington will be the new president, or not the president, the new chairman of the chamber starting.
Yeah, I mean, Scott got an alarm there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, two great leaders in our community. I can say that from
right.
In the gallery, because both those people, Jennifer and Nick, do a lot for our community in their respective businesses and participate. So
they do. And but back in the 30s, 40s, the chairperson was called the president of the chamber. So the staff person was called the manager. So the nomenclature has changed over the years, but it is.
You hear that, Scott?
Yeah.
He's shuffling around.
Yeah.
No, it's funny how names. That's something your title, you're a director,
right?
And titles are titles, but the key thing there, I think, this again from my observation, is one of the things I like about this chamber is the leadership it provides through its board and through the leadership the chairman and the other leaders provide. I mean, they're top people, and they're not just from large businesses, big corporations.
Exactly.
They're small business people. People who have started businesses, and some from the larger businesses for sure, but it's a mix.
It is a mix, and when you look at the wall of honor that the chamber has, we have honored a lot of our former chair people and other leaders who played a big part in the chamber. People like Don Buckaloo with Buckaloo Chevrolet. He was such an integral part of the chamber, and he had his hands in so many things like the school board and the Montgomery County Fair and the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. He was involved in everything, but he made time because he knew how important the chamber was, and he was the last person to serve as back-to-back chairman. In 1973 and 74, he was chairman for 2 years in a row, and anyone who's been chairman will tell you that's not easy. I mean, it takes a lot of your time, but he committed to it.
Yeah, one of the great leaders that's made Conroe what it is. Yeah. Once Mr. Strake struck oil, then all bets were off and it was running. And it could have gone a different direction, but great, solid people in Montgomery County stepped up as they came along in history. And as you said to me, the chamber's been at the forefront for all of this to funnel through, to be a part of it. It's really interesting. Let me ask you, if someone is interested in joining the chamber, why should they, as small business, again, the small business, because this is a small business program, but why should a small business here in the Conroe, Lake Conroe area consider joining the chamber?
Well, it's because it's more than a membership. It's an investment. It's an investment in your business. And when you make that investment, whether it's at our lower level or at one of the higher levels, you get so many benefits from that investment. And you also, one of the things I didn't mention earlier was just our building itself. A lot of our small businesses don't have conference rooms or larger meeting spaces where they can gather or even have a holiday party if they want. The chamber, for its membership, provides its building, and we have spaces that they can utilize. That in and of itself could help pay for your membership. But you get all the other things that we've been talking about, like the networking, the marketing, and the governmental advocacy that the chamber provides. So those are the reasons why I would say it makes sense to join the chamber. And one of the things we're going to be adding this year, or in 2024, we've installed some technology in our boardroom where we have a lot of our professional development. So those professional development sessions and workshops that we were talking about earlier, we're going to be able to record those and have those put onto the website in the member portal so that they can access, if they can't make it to one of our meetings or one of those sessions, they'll be able to get the benefit from it just as well.
You know, and as we close and our time today does come to a close, I want to mention, because I'd be remiss, the programs you offer, educational or whatever type of program like this. Past week I mentioned to you attending the one involving nonprofits and businesses and how they can build a good partnership. First of all, it was well attended.
Mm-hmm.
I attended it because of my interest, and I work with the nonprofit roundtables. But think about that dynamic. I own a business, and one of the things I tell my businesses that I consult or advise is you need to connect with one or more nonprofits in your business and make it part of the business to whatever level, and there are various levels. But here I could go for an hour at lunchtime and wonderful discussion by some truly smart people from nonprofit and from businesses talking about how to build that successful relationship. So now I'm a business, I want to invest in a nonprofit, if you will, connect, and now I've got some tools, some guidance on where to go. I'm not just trying to do it on my own, right?
Exactly.
So you offer a lot of unique, very valuable, down-to-earth, nuts and bolts kinds of programs, educations, and a chance to meet those leaders and connect with them.
Right. There's so much expertise just within our chamber membership. So occasionally we'll bring in outside experts, but there's so much we have internally that they're willing to share and willing to pass on that expertise. Another thing we're doing is a mentorship program. We are through our Young Professionals Network. If you identify under 40, we have a network for them, and we have partnered and paired business leaders with these younger professionals who are just getting into their chosen field, and it's an opportunity to learn from people who've been there and done that. So that's another aspect of the chamber.
There are lots and lots of programs like that, and I encourage anyone who's listening, who particularly in this area of the country, that if you're not a member, you need to really take a good hard look at it in the next year at least. It'll boost your business. It'll make a difference in your business, both in the short term and long term. Well, Steve, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. Very informative. 90 years. What's as we kind of wind it up here pretty quickly, celebrations, what should we look for?
Well, we'll be acknowledging the anniversary, the 90th year-round. So throughout the year, we'll have different events and things, but we'll incorporate it into our existing events like the Chairman's Ball and Lobster Fest, and we have the Athena Leadership, Women's Leadership Luncheon in the summer. But throughout the year, we want to have some events for our past chairman, and just we'll have a video coming out. Some other things. You mentioned the Heritage Museum, and I'm on the board of the Heritage Museum, and one of the things we talked about was having a display at the museum with some of the artifacts that we've collected. We'll have those on display at the chamber, but we'll also have an exhibit in the summer, in June, July timeframe, I believe, that people can go and see some photos of some of the ribbon cuttings. They can look at the hairstyles back in the 50s and 60s, and just the old businesses that some of which are still here and some of maybe not, but it's a chance to look back at history and how the chamber has helped grow the city.
Well, and again, I encourage business owners and everyone else, but to learn a little bit about the history and to understand the foundational basis that you're in business here and what came before you. You'll learn something, and it could be helpful in your business. Well, Steve, thank you for coming. If people want to reach out to you or the chamber, what's the best way to do it?
Well, it's through our website. It's conroe.org. Very simple. All of the contact information is there. All of our event calendar. We just updated our website, so if they go there, they can get some of the history which we put on there, but also contact information.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, folks, I encourage you to do it. Well, as we wind up today's program, hope you enjoyed that conversation. Don't forget that today's program will be available by Wednesday of this week. You can find it all over social media. You can come to the website here at the station, irlonestar.com. Click on the show tab. daytime shows, the Weekly Business Hour. It'll be posted there, as well as on Facebook, the Weekly Business Hour page, YouTube, all over the social media. And again, I encourage you to share the program with other business people you know, and perhaps encourage them to become regular listeners. Well, next week we will be in the holidays, so we won't be live on the air, but we'll have a great show that we'll play back for you. I want to wish everyone that's listening a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday, and as always, I encourage people, number one thing, until next time we meet, stay engaged in your business and keep your focus on what's important to your business. Thank you.